The Police Association is accusing the National Party of playing politics on gun law reform. President Chris Cahill says the opposition leader is wrong to say the gun buyback scheme has been a fiasco and is pleading for MPs to be better than America when it comes to pursuing gun law reform. But Simon Bridges insists his party is unlikely to support the second tranche of gun legislation because it's targeting law-abiding citizens and being soft on criminals, gangs and extremists. Our political reporter Joe Moir has the story.
Chris Cahill hit back at National's claims that the gun buyback scheme is a fiasco, saying anyone who has been to a buyback event or talked to someone who took part would know the opposite to be true. He says not supporting the second tranche of legislation that would create a gun register and tighter firearms regulations is putting politics ahead of meaningful reform.
I would say this isn't the opportunity to play politics. It's way more important than that. Since 1997, when Justice Thorpe recommended law amendments around firearms in response to marijuana, politics have been played. We've seen what happens in America when politics stop meaningful reform. New Zealand needs to be better than that.
Simon Bridges won't completely rule out the National Party voting against the legislation due to be introduced later next month.
No, I'm not confirming that. It seems to me that's the likely position at this stage.
So is he just playing politics?
No, I'm not making this political. It's not about the Police Association. It's about a situation where National supported the first law. That was the right thing to do. The buyback scheme, however, is a fiasco. And we look at this new law and it seems like it's aimed at law-abiding New Zealanders. It's not aimed at the gangs, the crims and the extremists where it should be.
Mr Bridges says his issue is who the government is targeting, or in this case, not targeting, when it comes to stricter regulations. If that changes, he could be swayed to support the bill.
If the government shows, for example, with firearm protection orders, some of the things we've urged them to do, that this isn't about law-abiding New Zealanders, actually also about getting at gangs, criminals, extremists who have guns. In the case of gangs, in their tens of thousands, then we'll have a serious relook at that. But it seems to me it's not about that.
But Mr Cahill says if legal firearms aren't put in greater lockdown, then criminals will simply get hold of them.
If you don't have the appropriate laws around firearms security, ownership, then you're making it really easy for criminals to get their hands on firearms. Because we know the majority of criminals get their firearms from stealing them from licensed firearms owners.
The Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern wanted consensus on reforms, like she got when the government, with the support of National, pushed through legislation banning some firearms in the immediate aftermath of the Christchurch massacre that killed 51 people.
My hope would be that all political parties focus on people and focus on their safety in the same way that the New Zealand Police have said they absolutely support what we're doing to modernise our gun laws. I'd like to think that political parties would do the same.
The ACT leader David Seymour, who was the only MP who voted against the first tranche of legislation, also wants to see gangs and criminals punished, not law-abiding gun owners.
Only 1% of firearm crime is committed by people who had a licence. So the logic of the government's laws is to crack down on the 1% while doing nothing about the 99%.
Jacinda Ardern says the legislation is designed to stop gang members being able to access guns, while making sure fit and proper people are still able to. She says crimes are committed as a result of lax gun laws, and New Zealand learnt that the hard way. From Parliament for Checkpoint, Joe Moir.